All right, so are you ready? Because today we're going to look at fluency in English.
Yeah.
We're doing a deep dive into a popular language learning podcast.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's called Notes on Words.
Okay.
We're looking at an episode called How to Speak English Without Translating in Your Head. I don't know about you, but for me, ditching that mental translation, that'd be amazing.
It's such a challenge for language learners. I mean, everyone gets stuck in that translation trap.
Oh, yeah.
That flipping back and forth.
Oh, constantly, yeah.
And the podcast really stresses that real fluency. It's not about perfect translations. It's about getting your brain to think in English, directly in English.
Yeah. It's like when we were kids, like learning our first language. We didn't have grammar books, dictionaries. We just soaked up the language. It was so natural. But now as adults, we just overthink everything.
We do, and the podcast points out three main reasons why we fall into this translation trap. And the one that I really connected with was the fear of making mistakes.
Oh, for sure.
When we're worried about saying the wrong thing,
Yeah.
our brains, they just freeze up.
Yeah.
We overthink every single word.
It's like having this inner critic in your head,
Exactly.
just whispering doubts.
Totally.
And that can really mess with your fluency because it makes you hesitant.
Yeah.
And then the flow of the conversation, PFD, gone.
Yeah, but don't worry. They offer strategies in this podcast to rewire our brains for English.
Oh, good.
The first strategy they suggest is use English for simple thoughts.
Okay.
So instead of switching to your native language for just everyday stuff, try narrating those moments in English.
Oh, okay. So instead of just, going through your morning routine, just kind of on autopilot, you'd be like, I'm pouring my coffee, I'm grabbing my keys.
Yay!
It sounds so basic.
It does.
But they argue these small things can make a big difference.
They really can, because what you're doing is you're creating pathways in your brain, connecting these everyday things to English.
Right.
It's like building up that mental muscle.
And they emphasize consistency. They even say, try to narrate your entire day. I mean, it might sound a little silly, but like any new skill, the more you do it, the more natural it becomes.
Exactly. And they don't stop at just narrating. They actually encourage you to think in English for simple tasks.
Like what?
Planning your day.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Making a grocery list.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you can plan your day in English, you're really working those muscles.
Totally.
You're getting comfortable with different tenses.
Absolutely. Now, the next strategy is picture thinking.
Okay.
And it's all about skipping the translation and going straight from the word to the meaning.
So instead of translating run into your native language, they want you to picture someone running.
Exactly.
So you're connecting the word directly to the action, to the image.
Exactly.
And you're skipping that whole translation part.
What's so cool about this is you're basically using your brain's natural ability to learn by connecting things. Think about how you learned your first language.
Yeah.
You didn't memorize lists of words. You connected words to what you saw, what you felt.
Yeah, experiences, feelings, yeah.
Exactly. So we're kind of hacking the system here. We're creating these direct links so we can think and respond faster in English.
And that's a big part of fluency. Being able to answer naturally without getting lost in translation.
Absolutely.
Now, their last strategy might sound a bit strange, but it's speak first, correct later.
I love this one.
Yeah.
It's all about fluency over perfection.
Okay, so instead of getting hung up on trying to say everything perfectly,
right,
which can make you hesitate, get flustered, the conversation just dies.
Exactly.
They want you to break free from that need to be perfect.
Right.
And they use this example of forgetting a word like hesitate, like in the middle of a conversation.
Yeah.
And instead of freaking out, trying to remember it, they say, just find another way to say it.
Keep going.
Even if it's not grammatically perfect.
Yeah.
It's like you're building your ability to improvise.
Exactly.
You're training your brain to be flexible.
Yes. So instead of getting stuck on hesitate, you might say, well, when you pause for a moment.
It's not the prettiest, but it keeps things moving.
Exactly.
And it probably takes the pressure off, too. Knowing you don't have to be perfect all the time.
Totally. And they say this is actually better for learning.
Oh.
Because when you let yourself make mistakes, you're more likely to try new things.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which makes you more fluent in the end.
That's all about embracing the process and letting go of that fear of judgment.
Absolutely.
Because every mistake is a chance to learn and get better.
I love that. And you know what? This podcast doesn't just give you strategies, it actually challenges you to use them.
You mean that 24-hour fluency challenge?
Yes.
I was just going to get to that. They actually want listeners to only think in English for a full 24 hours.
I know.
Especially during those everyday things we were talking about. It's a bold challenge for sure.
It is. But I can see how it would be really effective, to push you out of your comfort zone, really get into the language.
And they break it down into easier tasks, too.
Yeah.
Like describing your actions, planning your day in English, and even describing words you forget.
Ooh, I love that last one.
Yeah.
Instead of translating right away.
Yeah, it really makes you think outside the box.
It does.
You come up with other ways to say things.
Yeah.
It's like a workout for your vocabulary.
It is.
Like they're saying, hey, you've got the tools. Now let's see what you can do.
Exactly. And I think that's really empowering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's about taking charge of your learning and pushing yourself.
So we've talked about these strategies. Now let's see how they fit into the bigger picture of language learning.
That's a great point. Let's look at how these small exercises can actually lead to big improvements in your fluency. What I find interesting is we tend to think of fluency as like this big accomplishment that you just, boom, achieve it overnight. But this podcast is like, no, it's a process. It's these little things you do consistently.
Yeah, it's like building a house.
Yeah.
Laying those bricks one by one.
Right.
These small acts of thinking in English, even if it's just for a few minutes every day, can really build up.
And, it's not just how much time.
Right.
It's how you use that time.
Okay. Yeah.
Are you really engaging with the language?
Right.
Are you pushing yourself to use new words, new grammar?
So it's not just about describing what you're doing. It's about challenging yourself.
Exactly.
Like using a more interesting verb or an adjective you don't normally use.
Yes. It's about playing with the language.
Oh, okay.
The more you do that, the more comfortable you become.
And that confidence, that's a big part of fluency.
Oh, absolutely.
Being able to just, talk freely.
Right, without hesitation. And what's great is these strategies, they work for any level.
Yeah.
Whether you're a beginner or, more advanced.
Right.
These techniques can help.
It's about finding that sweet spot between like what you're comfortable with and what challenges you.
Exactly.
So you might start off simple, like narrating your morning.
Right.
And then work your way up to having full conversation in English.
Right. And you know what else I like about this podcast?
What's that?
They really emphasize the community aspect.
Oh, yeah.
Sharing your experiences, the good and the bad.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That can be so motivating.
Yeah, because you're not alone. Other people are going through the same thing.
Exactly. And celebrating those wins together.
It reminds me of that saying Ubuntu, the idea that we're all connected.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it's a good reminder that it's not just about you.
Yeah.
Language learning, it's about connecting with others.
And speaking of connections, one thing that really stood out to me was the link they made between thinking in English and your worldview.
Yeah, they talked about how language shapes how we think and see things.
Right.
So when you think in English, you're not just learning words and grammar.
Yeah, you're opening up to new ways of understanding the world.
It's like putting on a new pair of glasses.
Right.
And suddenly you see things you didn't before.
Exactly. Or like tuning into a different radio station.
Oh, yeah.
Hearing new stories, perspectives.
It's about getting out of your comfort zone linguistically.
Right.
And really immersing yourself in the culture. The way people think who speak English.
Which can then lead to, greater empathy.
Oh, yeah.
Understanding people from different cultures.
Yeah.
Breaking down barriers.
It's about being a citizen of the world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's what's so cool about language learning. It's not just a skill.
Right.
It's about growing as a person and connecting with the world in a deeper way.
So as we wrap up our look at this podcast, what are your main takeaways? What really stuck with you?
I think for me, it's that reminder that fluency isn't some far-off goal.
Yeah.
It's a journey.
A process, yeah.
Yeah, it's growing and discovering.
And that even small steps can lead to big progress.
It's about enjoying the journey.
Right.
And celebrating those little wins along the way.
And remembering that we're all connected through language.
Yeah.
It brings us together.
For sure.
Helps us see the world in new ways.
So thinking about all that, what's one little change you can make today to start thinking more in English?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Well, maybe set a timer for like 5 minutes.
Okay.
And just challenge yourself to only think in English during that time.
Or you could try some of those narration techniques.
Right.
Just weave them into your day.
The point is to make that effort,
Yeah.
even if it's small, to make English part of your life.
And remember, it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's about sticking with it.
Keep going.
Even those little moments of thinking in English can add up
They do.
and lead to real progress.
It's like those little drops of water that carve out canyons.
Wow.
Each
Whoa.
drop might seem tiny, but over time,
Yeah.
they have the power to change the landscape.
So keep those drops of English coming. Keep nurturing that fluency, and you'll become a confident communicator.
Absolutely. Until next time, happy thinking in English.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed, right?
Yeah.
You nurture it, give it time, and then boom, you have this beautiful ability to think and speak English without even, like, thinking about it.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And just like with a garden, sometimes it feels like nothing's happening.
Right.
But it is. Underneath, those roots are growing.
Right. And eventually you'll see those results.
You will?
It's about trusting the process and not getting, bummed out when things get tough.
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone learning a language, they hit those roadblocks. It's about how you handle them.
Totally. Bouncing back is so important.
Yeah.
And I think this podcast does a good job of reminding us that it's okay to mess up,
Oh, yeah.
to make mistakes.
It's part of learning.
It's like learning to ride a bike, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to fall a few times.
For sure.
But you get back up, you dust yourself off, and you keep trying until you get it.
You get that balance.
You do. And you know what?
What's that?
Those falls, those mistakes, they actually teach you more than when you do it perfectly.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they show you where you need to improve,
Right.
help you change your approach, and you become a better, more confident speaker overall.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into thinking in English, here's a thought for you.
Okay.
What's one small thing you can do today, right now, to get closer to that fluency goal?
Maybe try narrating your drive to work in English.
Oh, okay.
Or you could challenge yourself to think in English for a few minutes before you go to sleep.
Okay, yeah.
It's about making that effort,
Right.
no matter how small, to make English a part of your daily life.
And it's not about being perfect. It's about keeping at it. Those little moments of thinking in English, they really do matter
They do. They build up over time.
and lead to real progress.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive into thinking in English. It's been a blast exploring these ideas, and we hope you found them helpful.
Yeah, this was fun.
So until next time, keep practicing, keep those English juices flowing, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
See you then.